Alright guys, so we're back with another tutorial on how to make basic game music in Ableton Live. Again, we're kind of going with the premise of if you're going for a happy or a sad sound, you know, those are kind of the two dividing areas of music, right? And so we'll kind of show you guys how to make that sound that you're going for. First step, obviously open up Ableton. The first thing, just to get you guys an idea of what to do for a song, is to figure out what a chord progression is. Again, every song has a change in notes as it goes through that repeats over and over. That part that repeats over and over is called the chord progression. And a chord is simply two or more notes played at the same time. So pretty much what we're going to do, again, first thing is I usually put in a drum kit. Even if you're not going to use drums for the final product, which, you know, a lot of video games actually don't have drums. Think about like movie soundtracks. A lot of them, you know, sometimes they don't have any drums at all. But the idea here is that you want to make sure that you have something to keep the rhythm, so that when you're playing and drawing your music in, it kind of all snaps to that certain speed or beat of the song. And again, by default, the speed of the song is 120 beats per minute. This is a little fast for a lot of music, so to figure out how fast this is, we're going to find a drum kit, which again, you got the categories over here. Let me make sure to make this bigger for you guys so you can see. Again, all the options for Ableton are in Options, Preferences. This is where if you don't hear audio coming out of your headphones, you would go to this audio tab and make sure your audio device is on MME/DirectX for the driver type. And on this, you're going to want to choose either speaker or headphone. Mine looks a little different because I have a more advanced interface, but for you guys, it'll just be that. But let me make the text here bigger for you guys so you can see. Is that good? All right. So first thing is we find a drum kit. Again, we're going to go, all the categories for Ableton are divided up here on the left. We're going to go to the drums category, and remember to make sure this little blue headphone icon is lit up, this one right here. That way, if you click on these different drum kits, you can pretty much hear what's going on, okay? And I'm just going to grab this 808 kit. And again, all you have to do to add this drum kit, guys, is click and drag it onto one of these blank MIDI slots. Again, MIDI is basically computer music that you draw in. You can see the notes, you can edit it as you go along, and then you can also change the instrument to anything you want. Whereas an audio track, which is the second type of track in Ableton, audio is something that's already been recorded. So it's like an MP3 file, a WAV file, or of course if you have a microphone plugged in, you can use the microphone. And a lot of you have been asking me about, you know, hey, how do I record my voice on your laptops? To record your voice, a lot of people I've noticed, right when you go in, it's already set to record. And the way you can tell is if you can see, actually let me make this a little bit different. This little in-out I/O thing right here, if you turn that on, you can see these numbers. So on the audio tracks right here, notice there's this number 1. Yours for the mic on your laptop will be either 1 or 2. And you should see little green levels jumping right here if there's actual signal coming through the mic. And if you need to adjust the volume on your mic to record your voice, you can go down here to this little speaker icon in the lower right corner, right click, open sound settings, and go where it says input on this microphone. And you can see I've got levels right here, but if you wanted to turn your mic up, you would go to device properties, and you can play with the microphone level right here, okay? But mine's already plugged in and going, so that doesn't really matter. Anyways, for those of you that do want to record your voice, remember you can make it sound like anything. You can make it sound super low, you know, however you want. In fact, let's just do it right now. Options, preferences, and I need to make sure that this microphone is selected. So now it doesn't want to work. I'll do another tutorial because this mic, basically I have to change up the settings here. So let me try one more thing. Testing. Nope. Anyways, I'll go over another tutorial in a little bit for you guys because it looks different on your laptops. So probably what I'll do is I'll grab one of your laptops and show you guys exactly how it's going to look on your end. Because again, my devices here are different. But getting back, we need to make a basic drum beat just to know what the speed of this song is, all right? To do that, we just double click in this blank slot. You could bring this up, And make sure, see right here, this little headphone icon needs to be in blue so that you can actually hear when you click. And all the different drum sounds available to you are here on the left. The ones I usually use is the kick, the snare, and a hi-hat. Those three sounds pretty much make up a drum kit. So with those, those three sounds are pretty much the key to a drum kit. But for now, let's draw in some of these kicks. And to draw it in, you just double click. And notice how I'm going to double click and draw at each of these four main dividing areas. Those are kind of that's the whole loop that I'm going to have for these drums. And usually if I want to see what the speed is, I'll draw one of these kicks in at the beginning of each of those columns. So that now when I hit play up here, so that's 120 beats a minute. It's a little fast, right? Unless you're going for, but that might be what you want. Again, if you're making a part of the game that's kind of intense and like, you know, there's fighting going on or something, you might want that kind of like, you know, faster sound, almost like a war sound from, you know, one of your favorite movies. But pretty much, we've got this. Let's go up here where it has this number, 120. And if we click and drag it down, see how it slows down? So basically get it at the speed you want. And a lot of times for drums, I don't have these kicks going every time, so I'll delete a couple of these. To delete a note, you just double click on it. So there, it just went away. Double click this, and now let's check this out. Alright, and then just like I said before, either a snare or a clap. So let's draw a snare in to replace those kicks. So now we have, let's increase the speed a little bit. Alright, and then hi-hats. And the fun part is here, guys, you just experiment. Just, you know, draw things in. So just like that, in like 30 seconds, we've got a basic drum beat. So pretty much, now I've got a basic drum beat to kind of keep rhythm. And again, if you want to delete these drums later, you can. But the whole idea here is that you have something to play along with, okay? Next part, we need to figure out, hey, what sound am I going for? So again, Google is your friend in this case. You go to Google and type in, let's do a happy. Actually, it's going to sound cheesy. Let's do a sad chord progression. So again, I just look for the emotion that I'm going for, and then the words chord progression. All right, and this is going to give you some ideas right here. So again, what does it mean, guys, when there's an A with a little M? Minor. A minor. What does this mean? This F that's just like that. It means F major. So it's kind of annoying because it doesn't say the major in it. But if you ever just see the letter of the note or the chord with nothing after it, it's basically implied that that's the major chord. And again, major chords have kind of a happier sound. Minor chords have a little darker and a sadder sound. All right. And a lot of times you'll find they mix together in a song. So you'll have some minor chords and some majors. So right here we've got A minor, F, C, and G. So first thing we need to figure out, what notes are in this A minor, okay? Because you guys can, of course, in Ableton, draw the notes in here, right? And so we need to find out what notes are in A minor. So let's type in a new tab in Google and type in A minor chord notes. And scroll down a little bit here. Boom, right here. Usually it's 3 notes that you're looking for. So right here it's A, C, and E. So now we basically go back to Ableton and let's find an instrument first of all that we want to have in our track. So again, instruments over here, and the main one you guys want to mess with is this instrument rack. That's where most of them are. So instrument rack, open it up, and you can see there's all these different categories. A lot of times after starting with drums, I start with a bass as well and kind of build up from there. So let's find a bass sound we like. Again, make sure this little blue headphone thing's turned on, and then when you click on the basses, ooh, that's good. Yeah. So I'm going to click and now drag this one to the second blank slot. And again, if you guys run out of slots, you can just drag it into this open area and it'll add it automatically. But we're going to drag it right here. And now if we double click in this blank slot right here, you can see, look, I've got all the notes lined up right here. And I think you can even move it to, oh no, it doesn't want to do that. Anyway, so if you hover over these different things, you can see it says the note on the left. What does it mean when you see the D #3? You guys remember that? It's in between, D sharp, exactly. So hashtag basically means it's one little step above D, and that means it's in between D and E, right? So here's D right here as I go up, D sharp, E. The only thing that's confusing is that you don't really need to worry about, but the only ones that, almost all of them have a sharp in between, but for E to F and B to C, it's only one little step for the whole next note. So you don't really need to worry about that, but pretty much if you see on Google, like, see, I don't know if you guys can see that right there. See where it says C and then it says E with that little B next to it? That means B flat. All right, B flat means halfway down. And confusingly enough, that means it's the same thing as A sharp, right? Because A sharp is halfway up, B flat is halfway down, meaning that's the same note. But in Ableton, the only way it has things listed is the sharps, the hashtags. So if you see right here it says E flat, that little B, that means that in Ableton it would be a what?
Down.
And what would that be?
That would be A or D sharp.
D sharp, exactly. So D sharp would be the one that you would look for here if you see E flat. It's the only kind of confusing thing when it comes to music theory. But anyways, our chords, or our notes again are A, C, and E. So let's go to this bass and let's draw those in. First of all, make sure that, you know, this piano roll, look, it goes up way, way high. And look at this C note. It's almost too high to even hear. So yeah, so basically each instrument has kind of what we call a sweet spot. A bass obviously needs to be lower, right? So for a bass, you wouldn't want to draw it up in these high ones. You would scroll down until it sounds the best. That's a little better. I think I like that. So let's start by drawing in. Again, here's our A note. Let's draw it in. Actually, that's a little too low. If I want to move a note, look, you just click on it and press up until you get to where you want. All right, so A, what was it, C and E, I think? So again, if you made this an actual true chord, you would have these stacked on top of one another, all playing at the same time. But the only instrument you almost never want to do that with is a bass. Because a bass, if you have more than one note playing at a time, it kind of sounds, it just doesn't sound good. So we're going to move this C and press to the right. Let's do this here. And then what was the last one? E, I think, right? Let's bring it down here. Let's just see what this sounds like. So let's hit play on this bass one. So just like that, you've got kind of the start of something, right? And a lot of game music, you might want to have it where these notes kind of hold out longer. Kind of like, let's try this. Let's hit play again, or spacebar. Now notice how this loop is really short, right? And it's going to kind of get repetitive quickly. If you guys want to make one of these parts longer than this normal one, you've got these 4 big columns. Let's times that by 3. So pretty much we're going to do 12 of these big columns. So we just go right here, and I don't know if you guys can see, there's like a little triangle right there on the colored bar part. If you click and drag to the right, it'll start making this loop longer. And the only thing you got to remember is you always want the numbers to be divisible. So if I have 4 columns to start with, I want either 8 or another 4, 12. You don't want to just do like 3 on one of them. Does that make sense? Because when it starts looping, it'll be off sync from the drums. So anyways, we want 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's right. If you want to zoom all the way back out, guys, you can either click up here on this bar and click and drag down or up to zoom in or zoom out, or double click to zoom all the way out. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or let's count like this, the dark gray to light gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we need one more right there. So one more column. Again, there's 2 little triangles right here, but you want to grab the upper triangle. So this one right here. And let's drag one more of these out. But you guys can see that, right? The dark gray to light gray. It's kind of hard to see, but So pretty much now we've got this bass note, right? And let's go back to Google to our chord progression that we had found. And remember, A minor to F major. So let's type in now F major chord notes. And scroll down. Boom. F, A, and C. All right, so now let's go back to here and let's do an F right here. F, A, and let's end on, let's just do an A and C. You don't have to do all those notes if you guys don't want to. It's just kind of a matter of preference. All right, so now let's play this. See how that it just sounds good. It's literally, guys, if you learn just an ounce of this music theory, it's almost like cheating in that you can make stuff that sounds good without actually even knowing what you're doing pretty much. All right, so F major, what was the other chord in there? A C major. So let's go do C major chord notes. So C major chord notes, and if we open this guy up, boom, right here, C, E, and G. So let's do just the C and the G. Actually, we already got a C here. Let's do back down to E and G. Yep. And again, so you guys, if I hover over the sides of the notes, you can, the icon changes where you can click and drag it out. So what did I say? E and what was the other one? G. So let's go here to G, and let's see what this sounds like. Sounds okay. I almost kind of liked it with just this part looping. Yeah. And in fact, so that's what's cool, guys, is we can do that. So we're going to go and end it on the C note because I kind of like the way that sounds. So again, go back up to this little triangle on the colored part, click, and let's drag this in to cut those off and do it just like that. Boom. All right, so we've got the foundations of our song. The bass and the drums, those are kind of the foundation. But again, afterwards, if you want to delete the drums, you can. So next thing is we need to find another instrument that we want to use. So let's check out some of these other ones. Again, for you guys, for video game stuff, a lot of these either synth rhythmic. Let's see what these sound like. See how those sound like game music, right? And the cool part with these instruments, guys, is they actually play to the beat. Like they literally match the beat. So you could just hold the note down and it would just repeat. So if I want to show you what I'm talking about, let's. Ooh, that's video game music. I like it. It's 80s style. So look, let's click and drag it to a blank spot. Double click, and if we hold one of these notes down, so it basically is a repeating part. So we're in A minor, right? And when people say, by the way, guys, what key of the song are you in? What's your key? It's that first. It's almost always the first note or the first chord that you play a song on. And usually, as a rule of thumb, you want to end the song on the same one. So basically, we would start with A minor, end with A minor, and the key of our song is in A minor, okay? So let's go find an A note right here because we're going to, again, start with that note. Let's draw this in. Let's see what this sounds if it just played the whole time. Click play right here. Oh, that's weird. It doesn't really repeat. Well, pretty much. And again, notice I'm using the same notes that I used on the last one. So from now on, guys, when you draw notes in, just use these as a reference. Whatever notes you use here, try and only use those notes going forward with your other instruments, okay? Let's see what this sounds like. That's weird. It doesn't want to repeat. Whatever, let's just, so here's what's cool. We got our notes drawn in, right? If we don't like the instrument or it's not working for us, guess what? You go drag another instrument on top of it and it'll replace it. So let's find another one. Let's try this one, cloud cover. So look, I just drag it on top of this one, and now the notes are still there, but now the instrument's changed. This is the beauty of using MIDI for making music on a computer. I actually like that. And if you want to see what would sound good, you can also just go here and start clicking on notes to see what would go along with it. So that actually sounds a little video game-ish, right? For the most part. So we've got that now, guys. Usually I would do one more instrument to kind of complete this ensemble of instruments. So let's find maybe like some strings. That's kind of a video game type sound. So let's click and drag it to another blank spot. Double click. And let's get our A. Let's draw this in and see what this sounds like. Hit play right here. And notice how these strings, guys, I can't really hear them, right? They're a little too quiet. To change the volume levels on each instrument, you can notice right here, there's a little triangle that you can turn things up. Usually the better way is actually to turn the other instruments down. So if I want to go to this one, let's turn the drums down. This one, let's turn down a little bit. Let's turn all these down. And achieving the proper mix of instrument, guys, that's one of the art styles of making music, and kind of making sure that everything balances out, or the instruments that you want to be loud are louder than the others. So let's play this now. That's all right. So pretty much just like that, guys, we've got a basic little loop that we could use in a video game. Now, notice that if you played this over and over on this loop, it would get a little bit annoying, right? A little bit repetitive. So that's where you guys can go, and for each instrument, you can draw in as many clips as you want. So if you want to do different parts that you're going to kind of go back and forth with, you would do that. So if I wanted to make another strings part that maybe did a different note, let's try, bless you. Let's do an E right here. So notice now I've got these two instruments, or these two notes stacked. That is now officially a chord that you're playing at the same time. So if I hit play on this, so if I look at here, I've got these two clips, right? If I click play on this one now, it's going to switch it. Let's end with an A. So just like that, I've got something that now I can kind of switch back and forth to make it a little more interesting. So as you guys make your game music, again, use the exact same notes that you've already used before, but just start drawing in other clips for these instruments that when you go back and forth from one to the next, it kind of all mixes together well. And the part where you actually make the official song that's going to go along with the game, this view right here is kind of, it's called arrangement, or I'm sorry, it's called a session view, and it's kind of good for coming up with all these little musical ideas that you can mix and match. And the fun part about it, guys, is that it always will sync up to the beat. So when you change to another clip, it doesn't change right when you click. It waits until the beats come back around, and then it starts. So it's like you can have everything sync up and get all your ideas here. And when you've got all your ideas ready to go, look it, you can click on these clips, right click, and hit copy. And now I switch over to my arrangement view. To switch to arrangement view, if you guys can see these little three lines going up and down, that matches this, right? There's also, you can't, it's kind of hard to see right there, but there's also right above it, these lines going left to right. And so any of you guys that have done video editing or any kind of editing, this is the view you're used to, right? Like the timeline where here's the beginning, and as it goes this way, it finishes to the end. That's the view you really want to get to. But what you do is you get all these little musical clips or ideas down in this mode, and then either hit the tab button to switch to this mode, or again, you can click up here on these little lines. And so I copied that drum beat, right? So I'm going to scroll up, and the only thing you got to remember is when you go to this mode, you need to make sure that this little button right here that's blue, that needs to be checked as off, all right? So if I click that, now I can edit in this view. And so look at, if I right click and hit paste, again, look, here's the drum kit name, right? So all the instrument names are now over on this right side. If I go right click here and hit paste, boom, there's my little drum clip that I had made, and you can kind of see it in the more traditional view. What's really cool, if you want this drum beat to repeat over and over for a while, look, you just hover over this spot right here on top of the clip, click and drag, and look at it, it just copies it over and over and over. And then I can go back over here, I can copy this one, hit tab to go back, and this is my sub. Let's right click here, hit paste, go back here, right click on this cloud cover, copy, hit tab to go back. Also, these audio tracks that I'm not using, you guys can delete those. If you just click on it, press delete. And here's this cloud cover one. I open it up with this little arrow and pretty much paste it right here. And notice how the way I have these clips now, guys, it's starting with the drums only, then adding this, and then adding this. So if I hit play right here from the beginning, let me bring this down a little bit. If I hit play now, again, you can click wherever you want to hit, wherever you want it to start, and then press the space bar to play, or of course click it up here. But if I start this, watch, drums only, the bass comes in. So see how you can kind of, with this mode, you can kind of make that final song where, you know, there's some interesting things going on, except the same loop repeating over and over. So I'm going to also copy these strings, right click, copy, and right here, off-world strings. Let's paste this in right here, right click, paste. And just like before, guys, you can click and drag and move these clips as you want. And notice how these clips, they snap to these grids right here. That basically means that it's perfectly in sync with the drums, okay? And the strings part, I had two different clips, right?
Yep.
If I right click, copy on the second clip, right click, copy, hit the tab button to go back to this mode, and then maybe paste it in after this one. So now look, I can take these clips and instead of just the same loop over and over and over, which would get kind of annoying, you can have these different clips in here. And say I want to go from this one to this one and then back, right click, paste. Maybe I'll right click here and do paste, and here. And then I can take that second clip, right click, copy, paste it in here and here. So now let's listen to this. So there's the strings. And see how it changes now? Back to the first one. So see how that's a lot more interesting, that same loop just going over and over and over. So if you guys get at least 3 little clips for each instrument and you mix and match those, you'll have pretty much all you need to make your video game song, okay? Also, usually I recommend having at least 3 instruments from the instrument rack and 1 drum kit, but you guys can kind of do whatever you want. Again, this is a little more open than my typical assignments for music because this really isn't the focus of the class, but I do want you guys to be able to make this. So you can see, like, just like that, you know, we've got a basic kind of song here that you can have it loop over and over during the game, but the only thing I would just recommend is that you have the clips change here and there throughout the song, so it kind of, you know, just sounds interesting and not just some 30-second loop going over and over and over. But that's kind of the quick and easy way to make a song. Again, the big thing to remember is using Google to look up the word chord progressions and then with the emotion you're going for kind of right before it. And if you also want to do more research into, like, okay, how do I make a song sound more aggressive? Obviously your instrument choices are the main thing with that, the way the drum beat's hitting. But you guys use Google as your friend. So type in so yeah, just read some of this stuff. But honestly, yeah, look at this, how to make a melody sound evil. So pretty much, if you guys want to know how to make songs sound creepy, because I know a lot of you guys have like a zombie game you're working on, just use your ears. Like, watch, if I go into these strings right here and I double click to draw a new clip in, if I play certain notes together, like watch this, I'm going to draw a C in. Let's click and so you can click and drag a box around those, and then right click to make them go longer. And now let's check this out. Let's play this clip. Yeah, that just kind of sounds, you know, creepy and evil. That's pretty much what you guys can do. Just use your ears to find out what notes you can use to make a song just sound kind of like, it just makes you uncomfortable, right? But to find out, what notes to play to make the song sound good, happy or sad, just use Google chord progressions. And then remember, the next step is once you see what the chord progressions are, again, A flat is the same thing as G sharp. Because again, musical notes only go from A to G, and then they just repeat again. So the little B's mean the note below sharp, so G would be E sharp. And remember, when there's a little M, it means minor. So then you would go into Google. So if I want to know, hey, what is in a B minor chord, like this one right here, click up here and type in B minor chord notes. And then scroll down a little bit, and right here, boom, here's the ones right here, okay? So that again, that's kind of the quick and easy way to make a song in Ableton Live. Questions? Is that all pretty clear? You guys sure you don't have anything? If you're thinking it, I guarantee someone else probably has the same question. So now's the time to ask. You guys feel comfortable with this? All right, and remember, you can work with another person, because again, half of you were in my freshman class last year where we actually had a whole unit on making music in Ableton. Half of you have never been in a music class. That's kind of hard for you guys. So for those that haven't taken my class before with the music, you guys feel free to kind of work with each other and work with a partner that does know how to make the music, and we'll kind of go from there, okay? Any more questions? All right, let's get to work and pretty much get your games open. And remember, try and match the feeling of your game. The type of vibe you're going for with your game, try and match it with your music, all right?